Hi, Leila from Murlo. Welcome back to our channel. Now that we've got the calculations done for the yoke of the lace Raglan Alpaca Sweater, it's time to move on to how that is going to be knit up. Let's take a look. I have now knit across my 51 stitches for the right front of my sweater. And my calculation for the stitches that I needed to set aside for the underarm were 7. So I'm just going to slip 7 stitches onto a waste yarn. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Pull that up so I don't lose any stitch. I can break that yarn. And I'm just gonna tie these together. So now that I've got, those are for the underarm from the body, I'm gonna grab my sleeve. Now I'm also going to need to set aside 7 stitches for the underarm of the sleeve. Now, because my number isn't an even number, I'm going to place the beginning 3 onto a stitch holder, knit across for me my 65 stitches, and then when I get to this side, that's going to be towards the back of the sweater, I'll put the 4 stitches there. You'll notice if you're using the same lace pattern that I've provided that here's my purl 2, and then this should be knit 5, but I only have 4. So you are going to have to do some corrections within the raglan, and in some cases avoid doing the yarn forwards and avoid doing the knit 2 together, because once we get into the raglan decreases, you're only going to want to decrease 1 stitch at a time. I've now knit across the stitches for the sleeves right up until the last 4 stitches, because I needed 7 stitches reserved for the underarm. I put 3 on initially, and I'm going to have the 4 that'll go to the back of the sweater. So here we can see the 3 stitches that I put at the beginning and those 4, so I'm just gonna, that's gonna hold the reserve stitches for the underarm of the sleeve. And I'm going to continue to knit around the back. I've now knit across the back stitches, or the stitches for the back of the sweater, and I need to move 7 stitches for my underarm and just tie them away. We'll be dealing with those later. So now that the reserve stitches are taken into account and I've placed a marker, I'm ready to knit the next sleeve on. I'm going to, this time, because I'm still working on the back side of the sweater, this time I'll be setting my 4 stitches aside. Again, I can knit, and because this is where your raglan is going to start to form in here, again, you may find that the pattern doesn't quite match up. I've got my 2 purl stitches and I've only got 3 stitches instead of 5 knit stitches, but that's okay. We're just going to kind of force things to fit a little bit, so I'll just knit those 3 and then we'll get to the other side of the sleeve. We now have the body and the sleeves all onto the 1 needle, and we've marked in between the body and the sleeves on the front and back of both sides. This is where the raglan decreases are going to come into play. Before we get into the decreases, you're going to knit for at least 1 inch prior doing any decreases. After the 1 inch, at the front of the sleeve, you'll do a slip, slip, knit 2 together, knit 1. Then you'll knit 1, knit 2 together. This will create a nice straight raglan yoke. You will notice in areas where the pattern wasn't going to work out that I just completed a knit versus doing yarn forwards in that area. When the sweater is worn, it's really not detectable. And that's the yoke completed. This is Leila from Murlo. Thank you for joining.